Welcome to the Money Mindset and Habits podcast. Today we're taking a deep dive into something that, let's be honest, many people find a bit, well, maybe intimidating: budgeting.
Right. But what if it's not about restriction? What if it's actually about unlocking more freedom?
Exactly. We're looking at excerpts from a really compelling piece titled "Why Budgeting Isn't Restriction, It's Freedom."
And it tells this very relatable story about someone named Sarah. She felt, like many people do, that she was just not good with money.
Does that sound familiar to you listening?
Mm.
That feeling of maybe living paycheck to paycheck, even if you don't think you're making huge, extravagant purchases?
Yeah, the piece describes that cycle really well. Sarah felt confused, maybe a little guilty, about where her money vanished each month.
Right. It wasn't necessarily big holidays or designer clothes, but the money was still gone.
Uh-huh. And her idea of budgeting, well, it was all about strict rules, saying no constantly, maybe complicated spreadsheets, just not fun.
So our mission today is to really unpack this idea from the source budgeting as freedom. We'll explore Sarah's journey, pull out the key insights, and see how they might help you shift from feeling unaware, maybe stressed, to feeling more in control of your finances.
Okay, so where did things start to change for Sarah? The piece mentions a pivotal moment.
Yeah, it came from a friend, actually, a friend who reframed the whole concept. Instead of restriction, she called budgeting permission.
Permission. That's such a powerful word in this context. Not you can't, but here's what you can.
Let's dig into that. How can setting boundaries with money, which sounds like limitation, actually create more opportunities? It feels a bit paradoxical.
Well, think about it this way. When you know where your money is going, when you have a plan, you eliminate a lot of that background anxiety, that constant low-level hum of, am I spending too much? Or can I afford this?
Okay. So the boundaries create a kind of safety zone.
Exactly. A framework. It frees up mental energy. Instead of worrying, you're directing. You're making conscious choices based on what you've decided matters to you. It's permission to spend within those chosen areas.
So Sarah's first step, according to the source, it wasn't some super complex system she adopted overnight.
No, not at all. It was really simple, but quite profound, actually. She just got honest. She wrote down her income. And then for a month, she tracked her spending, just in a notebook.
Wow. Just tracking. No immediate changes, just awareness.
That's it. That honest self-assessment. The piece really highlights this as the crucial starting point. You need to know the landscape before you can draw the map.
Like turning the lights on in a room you've been stumbling around in.
Perfect analogy. And for Sarah, the source suggests this act alone, just seeing it written down, was a huge breakthrough. It showed the gap between where she thought her money was going and where it actually ended up.
And the piece makes this a really important distinction. Sarah wasn't necessarily broke. She was unaware.
Yes, that's key. It wasn't a lack of income, fundamentally, but a lack of clarity.
So what were some of those mindless choices the piece hints at, the things that add up without you really noticing? We're not talking huge splurges here.
No, exactly. It's the daily coffee, maybe ordering lunch delivery a few too many times a week because it's easy.
Those impulse buys online when you're just scrolling.
Or those subscriptions you signed up for ages ago and forgot about, but they're still ticking away each month. Individually, tiny amounts.
So put them all together.
And suddenly you're wondering where a significant chunk of your paycheck went. It's death by 1,000 small, unconscious cuts, financially speaking.
Okay, so Sarah gets this awareness. What's next? How did she structure things? The source mentioned something about colored pens.
Yeah, I love this part. It shows how personal budgeting can be. She didn't just download a generic app. She grabbed the notebook, used colored pens, and created her own categories. Things like essentials, naturally, but also fun, savings, and even dreams.
That sounds much more engaging than just staring at spreadsheet cells.
Totally. It emphasizes that budgeting doesn't have to be this cold, rigid, one-size-fits-all thing. You can tailor it. Make it visual, make it tactile. Make it something that actually resonates with your personality and, importantly, your goals.
So it becomes your system, not just a system.
Precisely. That ownership makes a huge difference in sticking with it.
Then comes this other big shift the piece talks about, giving every single dollar a job.
This is where the real power starts to kick in, I think.
How did that change things for her? The source suggests she stopped asking that constant question, can I afford this?
Yeah, because the answer was already there, built into her plan. If she was thinking about buying, say, a concert ticket, she'd look at her fun category. Is there money allocated? Yes. Great, permission granted, enjoy the show guilt-free. No. Well, then the answer is not right now, based on her own prior decisions.
So it removes the in-the-moment angst and guesswork.
Completely. It's proactive, not reactive. You make the decision once when you allocate the money, rather than facing dozens of small, potentially stressful spending decisions every single day. It massively reduces decision fatigue.
And crucially, the source makes it clear this wasn't about cutting out all the joy from her life. Quite the opposite.
Absolutely not. Deprivation hardly ever works long term. She specifically created that fun fund. She started saving intentionally for things she wanted, like a weekend trip, and she even had a dream jar for a future cottage.
So the budget wasn't just about paying bills, it was about funding her aspirations too.
Yes, and that's how it becomes a tool for achieving what you truly want. You incorporate your values, your dreams, right into the plan. It shifts from feeling like a restriction to feeling like an enabler. You're giving yourself permission to spend on fun and permission to save for big goals, all within a structure you created.
It sounds like it transforms the whole relationship with money.
It really does. It becomes less about fear and scarcity and more about possibility and intentionality.
And the results for Sarah. The piece says that in just 3 months, she felt, what was the phrase? Rich in clarity.
Rich in clarity. I love that. Even though her income hadn't magically doubled or anything.
So what does that tell us? That feeling of control, that awareness,
Mhm.
is almost as valuable, maybe more valuable sometimes, than just the raw numbers.
I think it powerfully illustrates that, yes, so much financial stress comes from that feeling of being lost, of things being out of control. Just gaining clarity, knowing where you stand, and intentionally directing your resources, even if the amounts aren't huge, creates this profound sense of empowerment. It reduces anxiety significantly. You feel like you're in the driver's seat.
Which leads to the deeper lesson the excerpt touches on, about control and self-respect almost.
Yeah, it frames budgeting as a statement, like saying, okay, world, this is what I value, this is what I choose to spend my resources on, this is the future I'm building.
It's taking agency.
Exactly. It's an act of self-direction. Instead of just reacting to bills and impulses, you're proactively shaping your financial life according to your own priorities. That sense of control, the piece suggests, is deeply linked to feeling more intentional and, yes, maybe even respecting yourself more for taking that charge.
And the source explicitly links this to getting out of that paycheck-to-paycheck grind, replacing the stress with calm.
Mm-hmm.
Practically speaking, how does that play out? How does gaining this control through budgeting really impact daily life, day-to-day well-being?
Well, think about it. Fewer sleepless nights worrying about upcoming bills. Having a cushion, even a small one, so an unexpected car repair doesn't send you spiraling into debt.
Yeah, that peace of mind is huge.
It really is. It might mean feeling confident enough to negotiate your salary, or having the breathing room to consider a career change that aligns better with your values, or simply enjoying small treats without that nagging guilt because you know they're accounted for. That reduction in financial stress ripples out into your mental health, your relationships, your physical health even.
The source wraps up with this really interesting thought. If you just say yes to everything impulsively without a plan,
You're often unintentionally saying no to the things that actually matter more to you in the long run, like that dream vacation, or paying off debt, or saving for a down payment.
right, but flip that around.
Flip it around, and a budget becomes the tool that allows you to confidently say yes to the life you actually want to live.
Freedom to make choices without fear.
Uh-huh. Freedom to enjoy your money, guilt-free, within the plan you set. Freedom that comes from knowing exactly where you stand and where you're heading. It's clarity, control, and calm.
That's a much more appealing picture of budgeting than the one most people start with.
Absolutely. It reframes it completely.
Okay, pausing here for a moment.
Yeah.
If these ideas are resonating with you, if you're feeling inspired to get more clarity and control over your own finances, you should definitely check out our YouTube channel.
Yeah, it's called Finance Tips. We share loads more practical advice, strategies, and mindset shifts there to help you build those positive money habits.
So find finance tips on YouTube and hit subscribe.
All right, so wrapping up Sarah's story from why budgeting isn't restriction, it's freedom. It's such a great illustration that budgeting isn't some kind of financial punishment.
No, it's a pathway to freedom, to living more intentionally.
By getting that clarity, like Sarah did, and actively directing your money towards what truly matters to you, that's how you move from feeling overwhelmed to feeling empowered.
And the big takeaway, I think, is that this is possible for anyone, regardless of, maybe past struggles or feelings of not being good with money.
Absolutely. You have the power to take control. Start small, like Sarah did. Maybe just track for a week. Be honest with yourself.
And build your system. Maybe it's a notebook and colored pens. Maybe it's an app. Maybe it's something else entirely. Make it work for your life, your personality, your dreams.
So maybe take a moment after this and think, what part of Sarah's journey stood out most to you? What's one tiny action, maybe something you could do today or tomorrow, to gain just a little bit more clarity?
That first small step can make all the difference. Thank you for listening to the Money Mindset and Habits podcast.
And for more deep dives and practical tips on your financial journey, please do subscribe to our YouTube channel, Finance Tips.